Hello, friends, and happy Easter! Have you already found your Easter baskets? And I bet you maybe found the colored eggs the Easter Bunny hid for you, too. What a great way to start out this special Easter Sunday. Well, I thought to finish up our Bible time about the Easter story, we could have a little egg review. I have some Easter eggs here that have a little surprise in each one that will help us to remember and review the Easter story. So I thought we'd start with the first egg, which is egg number 1. And let's see what's inside and if we can remember what part of the story that was from. So, what do you think that is from? It's a leaf, isn't it? Did that help you remember Palm Sunday when Jesus was riding the donkey into Jerusalem? The friends were waving palm branches, and what were they shouting? They were shouting Hosanna to the true King as he was riding the donkey into Jerusalem. Good remembering. You're off to an awesome start. All right, let's see what's in egg, number 2. It looks like a cloth. What do you think that might remind you of? Let's see if we can find that in our Spark Bible. Remember when Jesus was sharing the Last Supper? Beforehand, what did he do for each of the disciples? He washed their feet. So the cloth can help us remember when he was done how he would dry their feet. So that was in egg number 2. Good job. Let's see what is in egg number 3. What does that make you think of? What does that little crouton make you think of? It's kind of like bread. Do you remember? At the Last Supper, Jesus broke some bread and shared it with the disciples, and he wanted them to think of him when they would share the bread as it would be like Jesus' body that they were sharing when they would get together, like communion. Now that leads into our egg number 4. What do you think is in here? It's a picture. What does that look like, that picture? Does that look like a wine goblet? That's exactly what it is. I don't know if you noticed those on the table when we were looking at the bread he was sharing, but there were goblets on the table that they were filled with wine, and that represented Jesus' blood that he gave for us when he died on the cross, so that we could live with him in heaven. Good job. Let's see what's in the next egg. This is egg number 5. What do you think is in egg number 5? It's another picture. What's that a picture of? Can you tell? Those are praying hands. Do you remember what happened after the Last Supper? Let me find that picture. Jesus went to a special place to pray. Remember, he wanted his disciples to stay awake with him, and they fell asleep. But he was praying to God. He knew that the time had come that he needed to die, but he just wanted to make sure God was going to be with him because he was scared. Look who else is with him. Squiggles. So that night he was praying. So the praying hands help us remember the night that he went to the garden. Let's see what's in number 6. Ooh, it's a silver coin. Do you remember where that fit into our story? It wasn't as prevalent in our story in the Spark Bible. I had to share it with you. But one of Jesus' disciples named Judas betrayed him. So he was going to let the enemies know which one was Jesus when he kissed him on the cheek. And for that information, he was paid 30 silver coins. So that's how that comes into play. And then in number 7, we have some rope. What do you suppose they would have used rope for? The night Jesus was arrested, they didn't have handcuffs back then, but they probably tied his hands together when they were taking him away, thinking that he might resist arrest. But Jesus knew it was all part of the plan, so he went with the soldiers, and he didn't fight. Let's see, what is in egg number 8? Oop, it's another picture. Oop, do you remember this from this story? What is that a picture of? That's a rooster. Remember, after Jesus was arrested, his other disciple, Peter, went and was waiting outside where Jesus was. And someone said to him, it's like, oh, I know you. You are a friend of Jesus. And 3 times he said, no, I don't know him. And then when he heard the rooster crow in the morning, he knew Jesus had been right when he told him that 3 times Peter was going to deny him. And it made Peter feel so sad. So that's why we have the picture of the rooster to help us remember that part of the story. All right, we're coming up here to number 9. Let's see what's in number 9. Ooh, what is that? Can you recognize this? Do you know what that is? That's a cross. That was the cross that Jesus had to carry down the street the day that he was going to die. It was a heavy cross, wasn't it? Remember, he fell when he was carrying it. Someone else had to carry it to the final place where he would be nailed to the cross. That was a sad day, wasn't it? Let's see what's in number 10. Let's see what's in number 10. Does anyone know what this is? It's kind of little. Do you know what that is? That's a nail. It's not a very big nail, is it? This is just a symbol of probably what they used that day when they nailed Jesus to the cross. That was really a sad day for Jesus, wasn't it? Let's see what's in number 11. This part, I haven't really gotten to that part of the story yet. We're going to read that in just a second. But in number 11, what is this? It's a big rock, isn't it? I wonder what that has to do with our story. Should we find out? Let's find out what that big rock has to do with our story. We're going to continue now, called The Empty Tomb. After Jesus died, it was a Friday. On Good Friday he died. And it was 3 days before the rest of the story, the happy part, was going to occur. But the morning of that special Easter Sunday, some women were going to the tomb where Jesus was laid. They wanted to kind of wash his body with special oils and spices. And as they were walking there, they all of a sudden remembered that in this big tomb, this cave, a big rock had been rolled in front of it. And they were wondering, how are we going to be able to get to Jesus' body? We won't be able to move that big rock. But as they got closer to the cave, they discovered something. The big stone was not there anymore. When they got there, they could peer inside. The stone was rolled away. But Jesus wasn't in there. They wondered what happened to Jesus. You'll never guess who was there to talk to them. It was an angel. And the angel said, "Do not be afraid. Why are you looking for Jesus here? Don't you remember the story? He's not dead. He rose again and is in heaven with God." So that's, as sad as that story was, that is why Easter is such a special time. It celebrates new life, like bunnies and chicks and birds and beautiful flowers. They all come back to life in the spring. New babies are born, trees are budding, flowers are blooming to celebrate the new life of Jesus dying for us and making a home for us someday in heaven. So let's see what's in our very last egg. Are you ready? This is the last egg, egg number 12. Let's see what's in there. Oh, it's empty. Now, do you know why it's empty? because Jesus didn't die. Well, he did die, but he rose again just like God had promised. So now he lives with us in our hearts, and he's making a place for us someday in heaven so that we don't have to die. We can be with Jesus forever. So have such a happy Easter Sunday. Enjoy your Easter candy and being with your family, and we will see you again soon.